Students, good day. Today we're going to create your Project 7, create and modify queries. So for this project, we're going to need our instruction for the lesson 7, Project 7, this one, and of course our Project 7 data file. So for these data files, we need to have 4 database. We have your club wines, games, sports events, and of course toys. So let's start with your Project 7-1, create a game selected query. Now, as the manager of the Southridge video, you have stored information in an Access database about each used game that the store has taken and trade. Now that you know how to create queries, you decided to create a select query to list the title, rating, and category, which are fields that you most often need to view. Now let's create that database, and of course we're going to follow these simple steps. So get ready and launch Access. Okay, so instruction number 1, open games from the data files for this lesson. So we're going to go to our Backstage view, then click Open. Next, we're going to go to where our data files been saved in our computer, so it might be different from you guys. So our Project 7 data files, and of course we're going to select games and then click Open. Okay, so before anything else, don't forget to click Enabled Content. Next, we are going to save this as Games XX, where our XX is our initial. So save database as, and of course I'm going to create a folder for this one. And we're going to save this as game. Again, don't forget it is your initial, then click save. Then again, don't forget to enable content. Next, on the Create tab in the Queries group, click Query Wizard button to display new query dialog box. So first we need to go to your Create tab and then Queries group. We're going to select Query Wizard. Next, click Simple Query Wizard and click OK. So Simple Query Wizard is selected by default. We just need to click OK. In a table or queries drop-down list, table game should be selected. So by default, it is selected Table Games. Next, under Available Fields, double-click Title, Rating, and Category. So we're going to first double-click the title, the rating, and of course the category. To move then in our selected fields. Now, step number 7, click the Next button. And the second screen, a simple query wizard appears. Instruction number 8, name the query Games Query, and then open the query to view the information should be selected. So by default, Games Query is key in our name box. So what we're going to do next is just click Finish. Now we are able to finish our query. So these are the information available for our queries. Next, instruction number 10, click close button in the queries tab to close the query. So what we're going to do is right click on our games query tab and of course click close. And we have to leave the database open for the next project. Now let's proceed to project 7-2, create a field duplicates query. So you have taught the night manager of the Southridge video how to enter use games information into a database. But you have not yet developed a reliable system for determining if the games have already been entered. You are concerned there are many duplicate records. Create a find duplicate query to determine if there are duplicate. So we need to use the database that is open from the previous project and of course create a duplicate query using the simple steps. So let's start. Instruction number 1, on the create tab in the queries group, click the query wizard button. So we go to create tab, query wizard. Next, in the new query dialog box, click find duplicate query wizard and then click OK. So we're going to select find duplicate query wizard and click OK. Instruction number 3, click table games and by default it is selected and then click next. So we're going to click next button and then the next screen in the find duplicates query appears. Instruction number 4, double click title, platform and publisher. So we're going to click title in available fields and of course double click to move it in our duplicate value field. So we're going to select title, platform and of course publisher. Next, instruction number 5, click next. Click next to display the next screen in the find duplicate wizard. Instruction number 6, double click category to move it to the additional query field box. So we're going to, from available fields, we're going to double click category to move it to our additional query fields. And of course, click next to display the final screen and find duplicates query. So we're going to click next and of course we have the name for our query find duplicates for games. Name the query duplicates for games and click finish to display the query showing the duplicate records in the table. So we're going to accept this suggested name and then just click finish. Now we are able to find all the duplicates entry in our database. So for instruction number 9, click close button on the duplicates for games tab to close the query. And of course, to do that, we go to find duplicates for games tab, right click and then close. Instruction number 10, close the database. So to close the database, just press your close button and of course, we are going to proceed with project 7-3. For project 7-3, we are asked to create a query from multiple tables. So information about each selection for the Kuhu Vineyard Monthly Wine Club is stored in the Access database. Information about the red wine and white wine is stored in a separate tables in your position as customer service representative. It would be useful to be able to query information from both tables. Now, get ready and launch Access and follow these simple steps to create the database. Now we are in our backstage view Instruction number 1. Open club wines from the data files for this lesson. Okay, so we're going to go to our backstage view and then click open button. Next, we're going to your project 7 data files. Okay, and select club wines and click open. Don't forget to click enable content. Next, instruction number 2, save the database as club wines XX, where the XX is our initial. So let's go to file, save database as, going to save this as club wines. Again, make sure to make use of your own initial for this project and then click save button. Again, enable content. Next, instruction number 3, open the red wine table. So we're going to double click red wines table to open the table. Instruction number 4, open the relationship window to ensure there is a relationship between the red and white wine table. Okay, to open relationship window, let's go to database tools and then relationship. Now we have your relationship window, and of course we can see that the red wines have a one-to-one relationship with the white wines using ID. Instruction number 5, start the query wizard and choose simple query. So what we're going to do is that let's close this one, our relationship window, and go to create. Next, select query wizard and then select simple query and then click OK. Next, in the tables or query drop-down list, click table red wines and it is by default selected. Move the bottled, label, and type fields to the selected field. So what we're going to do is double click bottled, label, and type to move them in our selected fields. Next, instruction number 8. In the tables query drop-down list, click table white wines. So we're going to click the drop-down list and select table white wines. In our table white wines, we are going to move instruction number 9, move the bottled, label, and type fields to the selected fields. So we're going to double click bottled, label, and type in our selected fields. Then click the next button. Click next button and then click the next button and name the query wines query. So we're going to skip this window and click next. We're going to name our query as wine query and then click finish button. Review the information in the query and then close it. So these are the queries that we made using two tables from the red and white wine table. And of course, we are done with this project 7-3. So let's close the wine query by clicking on the tab and then select close. The same with red wines. Right click on the tab and then click close. And we're going to leave the database open for our next project. So we are done with project 7-3 and now let's proceed with project 7-4. create a find unmatched query. A red wine and a white wine should be selected for each month. Determine if there are any records in the red wine table that don't have matching record in the white wine table. You decided to create a find unmatched query. To do that, we're going to use this simple step and of course our previously opened project. So let's start. Okay, so instruction number 1, start the query wizard and choose find and match query wizard. So let's go to create tab, query wizard, find and match query wizard and click OK. Select the table. Red wines should be selected and click next. Next, select the table white wine and then click next. So by default, the table white wine is selected, so we're going to click next. Instruction number 4, click ID in the fields in red wine list and click ID in the fields in the white wine list. So it is by default selected. And click the double-headed button to display them in a matching field. So you can see here in the matching field, it is default displayed by our dialog box. Then instruction number 5, click the next button. Instruction number 8, name the query unmatched month and click finish button to display the query. So we're going to select month and then click next. And we're going to rename our query unmatched month. Select view the result and then click finish. So we have the result, which is the month of November. And of course, instruction number 9, close the query. So to do this, go to Unmatched Month tab, right click and then close. And of course, instruction number 10, close the database. Now we are through with our project 7-4 and let's proceed with project 7-5. Create a query. In your job as a travel agent at Erin's Travel, a client has asked you to provide a list of all the travel packages available to sporting events that start in the month of April or May. You will add a criteria to a query to get this information from a database. And we're going to create the database using these following simple steps. Let's open our Access. Then we'll go to Open. And we're going to open sports events from our Project 7 data files. And then click Open. Next, we're going to save this as sports event XXX, where it is your initial. Don't forget to enable content, go to File, Save Database As, and save this as sports event, and then your initial. And then click Save. And then enable content again. Okay, next, instruction number 4, add a criteria that will query the database and display all the fields for all events that start between March 1, 2012, and of course May 31, 2012. So what we're going to do is double click on our events query and then right click, go to our design tab, design view, and then we're going to set our criteria. For the criteria, we're under start time events, we're going to write, or we're going to key in 4/1/2012 and press enter to move to the next column, and we're going to key in at the end time 5/31/2012 and then press enter. Instruction number 5, use the show row to hide the start time and end time fields. So we can uncheck this to hide our start time and end time fields and then run the query. So go to our design tab, result, and run. Next, instruction number 7, close the query and save the design when prompted. So we're going to close the events query, right click, then close, and then we're going to click yes. Instruction number 8, close the database. Now we are through with your project 7-5, create a query. Let's proceed with project 7-6, create a parameter query. Your brother who owns Wingtip Toys wants to be able to pull data from his toys inventory and ask for your help in creating a query. He wants to be able to query the database for toys for specific ages when prompted. So you show him how to create a parameter query. Now let's get ready and launch our Access. Now click open and select toys from our data files. And then click open. Click enabled content, go to file, save database as. And of course, we're going to save this database with our initial and then click save. And of course, enable content. Instruction number 3, create a simple query named inventory query that contains all available fields except the ID field. So what we're going to do is select our table, go to create tab, query wizard, simple query, and then click OK. For our available fields, we're going to select description, in stock, prices, and for ages, and then click next. Also, we're going to skip this table and we're going to save this as inventory query, which is by default selected. Then we're going to instruction number 4, and then click finish. Now we have your data for inventory query. Now right click on inventory query and then select design view. Let's go to for ages and we're going to create a parameter query for ages. So to do this, we're going to enclose this in a square bracket. Then for ages as our prompt, and then press enter. Now to check, we're going to run our query. So this is the result for our parameter. So we have your enter parameter value for ages, and this is our dialog box. So again, to review, to enter a parameter query, all you have to do is enclose your prompt message in a square bracket. Instruction number 5, query the database for all the toys for ages 10 to 14. So we're going to enter 10 to 14 and then click OK. So we have your result of the query for ages. And instruction number 6, close the database. We are done with project 7-6, create a parameter query. And for this project, you are asked to pass the following database for your project. We have your club wines, games, sports events, toys, and of course, your other toys database for your parameter query. So there are 5 files for this project. And that's it for your project 7, create and modify queries students. Thank you for your time and see you again to our next project.